came in.
He's scared away, Bridget.
They didn't want
Wrong meeting.
I got no idea, I better leave.
Right.
This is weird.
Caller 3, could you identify yourself, please?
Bridget,
Yes.
Scott Bender.
Thank you. Leslie, I did want to let you know that Pilgrims had to withdraw tonight. They're going to come back on May 12th. Someone got some feedback going on?
Yeah, I'm hearing you too now.
Could everyone mute their microphone?
Moving on to caller one.
I feel like
Caller
Santa's gonna be
one?
coming. Santa's gonna be coming pretty
Gary,
soon.
that was you. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
All right.
Are we ready? We're going to open this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number 2. Open public forum. Anybody wishing to speak that is not on the agenda. Go ahead. State your name and, yeah, just
Okay,
right there.
Carl Erkens. I live at 14466 248th Street, and also on the board of the Wakefield Township Supervisor. Just a few things I want to bring up here. Wakefield Township as a board, I could never remember ever talking against this Brewery addition and annexation of the land. What I have to say is, a number of years ago, the last addition that was put on the brewery just on the east side of North Point and 241st Street. I was at that meeting and we asked to keep the city and township homeowners in mind on as they plan their addition. Some changes were made on that plan because of noise and light from parked trucks. I have talked repeatedly to a homeowner at the end of 241st Street, and he says they did a very good job of whatever it took to make life okay living next to that loading area. I hope we have the same results with this project. My concern is the homeowners on the east side of County Road 2 across from this addition. I see a great chance of noise and beepers from trucks, backing, and headlights. I know there is a plan. I hope they do as good a job as was done on the addition east of North Point and Township Road 241. I hope for the sake of these homeowners, this group, they will make good decisions to respect these homeowners. As in years to come, yes, the city leaders and Wakefield Township can do work together for city growth and take in consideration Wakefield Township. Also, I have a question in the area along says they will not disturb. Will that mean some be seeded or maintained, or just what is in the plan? And thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Gordon Schlichting, I live 24306 County Road 2, directly across the road from the planned Cold Spring Brewing Distribution Building. I'm here to express my concerns about this new development. First, I am sure the City Council and Planning Commission has taken all of the legal steps and met all the minimal requirements for notifying us. However, these measures seem to fall short. We received a letter about 2 weeks ago informing us of the meeting last week to review a request for the variances and approval of the proposed plat and annexation of David Dingman's property. However, that letter did not include very many details about the project. Only through attending the meeting did we learn the size and scope of the project and the structure that would be built on the property. We nearly missed our opportunity at that meeting to hear the details and express our concerns. We had inquired about attending the meeting. We were told by the city administrator to stay in the parking lot to adhere to COVID-19 social distancing measures, and that we would receive a text message when the item we were interested in came up on the agenda. The text message never was sent to us. We just got tired of waiting and came into the meeting just in time to see the public hearing was beginning. There we were allowed to express our concerns. However, during that discussion, Shannon Miller made a statement that she had seen these plans for quite some time. The design had been determined, and it was the design that would be moved forward. One of my questions is, how is that a member of a city council can be aware of the plans and design, but property owners within 100 feet of the project have no idea of the plans? Since the initial distribution center was built several years ago, we have endured 100 to 200 trucks traveling in and out of the industrial park. We have endured jake braking and accelerating diesel motors of the tractor trailers as they passed our home, oftentimes waking us in the wee hours of the morning. We have endured the light snow of winter being packed into inches of glare ice on the road. We have witnessed near misses of vehicle accidents. We've endured the beeping of forklifts and trucks backing up to loading docks. Now we hear the truck traffic will grow by another 100 to 200 trucks a day. That adds up to 200 to 400 trucks traveling past our home. With the new building being planned directly across the road from our home, we will have to adjust to life with even more truck noise, the slamming of loading dock and trailer doors, the slamming of trucks into loading docks, and the light pollution of a 24/7 operation. Last week, the Planning Commission discussed some alternatives, such as a berm along County Road 2, or flipping the building so the truck traffic would be on the opposite side of the building away from the neighboring homes. The berm idea was shot down as it didn't comply with current ordinance. Ordinances are made to be broken, it appears, however, since variances were granted regarding the number of parking spots on the property and the height of the building. But a variance to build a berm on the front side of the project that would protect the residences from some of the noise and light pollution was not considered a viable option. Flipping the berm building was determined an inappropriate solution because of the winter winds and icing issues. But the trucks would be able to drive up and down the ice-packed highway with ease. The best solution was placing $25,000 in escrow for 5 years to mitigate problems, most likely with planting trees. I'm here to tell you that when the first distribution center went up, I planted 150 trees on my property to hopefully screen my view of the impressive building across the road. I can still see and hear all that happens there. It seems to me the City Council is acting in the best interest of the entities that wish to develop our quiet country living space into a massive industrial zone that benefits a singular company rather than serving the interests of the long-standing residents of the community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Marlene?
I'm Marlene Dingman and I'm married to Gordy. I too need to express some concerns about this project. First, I called the other day and asked if there had been an environmental study done. I was told that yes, and it had been published in the Cold Spring Record. Although the record is a very fine paper, not everyone gets it. How can you ask for public input with a forum that not everyone reads? In this case, I believe the landowners involved should have been informed by letter. I bet you would have had some public comments then. I feel our concerns about the light and truck noise are not being taken seriously. Not only the lights on the building, but the lights from the trucks as well. Daryl Hofer told me on Sunday that they were relieved when Safeguard Security put up their building because now they don't have to deal with truck lights shining in their living room. Now we get to have the truck lights shining in our direction. The noise is another major concern. We made several suggestions to the Planning Commission that were denied for various reasons, and we were offered trees to fix the problem. As Gordy mentioned, we planted 150 trees 15 years ago. They haven't helped. Some of them are 25 inches in diameter. Yesterday I decided to sit on our deck and record for 5 minutes. Of that 5 minutes, oh sure, now it goes away. A minute and a half was truck noise. This goes on all day long. If our mature trees don't help the little ones they want to plant, surely won't. We can't sleep with our windows open at night because we can hear the backup beeps at the current distribution center. It's only gonna get worse when it's closer to our house. I know that we cannot stop this project, but can at least we slow down a bit and come up with solutions to these concerns? It seems to me that it would be much easier to fix the problems with a building that is still on paper and being planned, rather than waiting until the building is built. I can guarantee the answer we'll hear after complaining when the building is built is, we can't do anything about it, and that will be very upsetting. Thank you.
Thanks, Marlene. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll move on to number 3, approval of the amended agenda.
Mr. Mayor, were you asked number
Yes.
4 and number 5 on them? Caller number 4 and number 5, can you identify yourselves? Caller 4 and caller 5, 2 people who have recently entered, could you identify yourselves?
Evening. This is Tom McCary with Canal. I'm also on the line. I'm not sure if I'm one of those callers.
I think you're on there twice, Tom. Where's this one?
Yeah, my computer doesn't have audio enabled to call in, but I'm also on the GoToMeeting.
Okay.
Bridget,
Yes, Doug?
I did see Larry Hosh's name pop up, so I'm not sure if you got him down.
I do.
Okay.
Alright.
Got it.
I don't know the very last person on the, here, I'm gonna share my screen. Share. Huh, it's not letting me share. Alright, whoever's down here, I'm sharing my screen for those on, I don't know who this is down at the bottom. They have left, okay.
Okay. Got everybody again? All right. And before we go on, we're gonna have roll call voting too yet, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. I need a motion for approval of the amended agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jamie makes a motion to approve. How about a second?
I'll second that.
Shannon seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, Shannon, a yes or a no?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yeah.
Gary?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so motion is approved. Number 4, consent agenda. Recommendation to approve the consent agenda as presented. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jamie makes a motion to approve. How about a second?
Second it.
Doug seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, Shannon,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. Number 6, Resolution 2020-19, a resolution approving the preliminary and final plat of DM Dingman Plat Inventure Properties LLC, CJK Investments LLC, and Spring Hill Capital LLC. You guys are up, right?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Doug Moser with Adventure Properties. Here representing the kind of tenants in common, Adventure Properties, CJK Investments, and Spring Hill Capital. Looking for the approval tonight for the first of a couple for the final, or preliminary and final plat. Here to answer any questions. I've got Chad with me here from the Monks to answer any questions if need be.
Mike Seymour next.
I'm sorry, Mike, sorry.
Chad's over here.
Okay. All right, I'll read the recommendation. Recommendation to approve Resolution 2020-19, a resolution approving the preliminary and final plat for DM Dingman Plat. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jamie makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second.
Gary seconds it. Discussion. Anybody got any discussion?
There are some conditions on that plat that I wanna point out. It does have the condition that the resolution, or that the, resolution be recorded with the plat to, what's the word I'm looking for? To acknowledge the agreement with Wakefield Township on the annexation. That field access will be removed, and that no field access will be granted to 248 unless a road maintenance agreement is entered into. There is the parkland dedication that planning did not discuss, so I think that's one thing you should probably discuss, because
Dropped it down.
yeah.
Anybody got anything about the parkland dedication? Doug or Gary or?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I got a question. The parkland dedication we're talking about is the $198,000 that's supposed to be there, correct?
Correct, that's for the 72.7 buildable acres between the
Okay.
parcel that this is and that outlot parcel.
Okay, and the recommendation that is in there is around to lower that to like 40-some thousand, correct?
Correct, their original request was to make it 0. And, because it has limited effect on parkland, because, well, we don't, it's not a residential, so we're not building a park in this area, and we're not, it's not families that are moving in, it's an industrial park. And the fact that we asked them to provide more right-of-way than they normally would have. When they said 0, I said I could get behind supporting a parkland dedication that met the building size. And so their request was 0, that's my recommendation, and obviously you have authority to do what you wanna do as a city council.
Well,
This is Tom McCary. Could I make a quick statement regarding that park dedication fee, if that's appropriate?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify that the only reason there are multiple lots within this plat is because of the area that we are dedicating as right-of-way. It actually dissects our property into two. And so if it weren't for that area of land that we're giving to the city, and the public road we're extending at our cost, there wouldn't be multiple lots, which means there wouldn't be any park dedication. So our rationale was that, but for that effort to extend public
Yes, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, Bridget, then a follow-up question to that. So, with, what the gentleman just stated about the fact that it would be for the two lots, if they just had the one lot, what would that acreage be, and what would the parkland dedication fee for that parcel, that one parcel only be then?
0,
Would it- And why would it be 0?
because that's what our ordinance says. It has to be, more than one lot.
Okay?
And I'm gonna share my screen because at the planning commission, and I know some of you have received it, there was an easement they were gonna provide, but instead, they have agreed to put it on the plat. Which one's the bottom south side, 1 or 2?
2.
So on the final plat 2, for those of you who are on the computer, this drainage and utility easement was not on the original plat and was going to be an easement recorded, but instead it made sense to put it on the plat, so the dedication is to the city, to public is immediate. Not missed. And that easement is allowing for the sewer line to run up there that could eventually be used if the property to the west is ever developed into a city lot. So I just wanted to this is a little bit different than what the plat was at planning, but that's what planning asked for.
Does that answer your question, Doug?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you all.
Anybody else? Any other discussion? Otherwise, I need we did have a motion and a second.
And I just
Yes, go
wanted
ahead.
to, I was gonna say, planning commission did approve this. And then, and I don't know if anyone else wanted to discuss, in regard to the homeowners, concerns, if you wanted to hear in regard to the homeowners' concerns, some of the reasons why, they had discussed why things were unable to be moved, or if there were any concerns about that, those can be discussed before. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew that those were discussed and the planning commission did pass this, so.
Does anybody want to hear anything or have any questions on that?
I don't have any questions. We heard from them.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
We-
if
we-
I
there's,
just wanted to make
if
sure.
there's any other thing you want to add to that.
All right, then we'll vote. Yes or no? Shannon?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion passes.
On the 2 plats, okay.
On that. Okay. Then we're on to number 7, warehouse site plan agreement.
Right, so this is the proposal that Mr. McGarry, who spoke earlier, was, at the planning commission, had, proposed submitting a $25,000 escrow to the city to address those. The 2 terms were the dollar amount, $25,000, and the, term was 5 years from the, certificate of occupancy. So, Sue Deggy, who's listening, city attorney, is in the middle of drafting what that agreement will look like,
Okay.
pending what your decision is tonight.
Then I'll read the recommendation. Recommendation to authorize the mayor and city administrator to sign an escrow account agreement with the warehouse developer for nuisance mitigation with specific terms of $25,000 and 5 years after the certificate of occupancy. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
Shannon makes a motion. How about a second?
This is Gary, I'll second.
Gary seconds it. Any discussion?
What
Go
does,
ahead.
what does $25,000 get us?
It will get us,
I mean, can,
oh, go ahead.
No, as far as landscaping is concerned, I mean, if trees cost roughly $300, I mean, if we do some quick math, I mean, it gets a fair amount of trees. Berming, I think I would ask Mike if there's berming already kind of in some of the plans, or is that berm in addition to what would be in the plans now?
Yeah, the berming would be an addition, we discussed that last week, and right now there's no room for a berm based on the grades, because we come from the docks. Our pavement drains to the east and drains into our drainage system, so to create a berm, we'd have to basically create a gap there. So to do that, would just slide the building north to create that gap, so that would be a pretty significant site plan change on the side. The building north, for every couple feet of berm height that we do, for example, a 3-foot high berm, we have to slide the building about 38 feet north. 4-foot berm, we'd have to slide 40 feet north to get that width of a berm on the east side of the site.
Sure. But I think, I mean, again, this is to address things after the fact. These dollars will sit here and be able to be used for those purposes if there's other things that need to happen, once that's, if there's something else that needs to be addressed.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Doug.
I know you guys are talking about it, but you're kind of breaking in and out. Is there a berm gonna be put there or not?
Not up front, right?
No, not on the right of way. There's a stormwater pond that
Okay.
is in there. I could show, are you watching on? Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, let me.
So then so with no berm, the only mitigation we got against noise would be trees. And then
Or
second part of that
fencing.
question is, what about the light mitigation? What are they doing with the lighting?
Well, fencing also, I mean, we'd be able to put some type of fencing up too if we needed to, correct?
I would suspect we can. I think the answer is, and I hate to, just address Marlene directly, I hate to try and think about things later, but we also have to look at this and going, it is an industrial building, so the 25,000 is there to mitigate any of these things. When I think about, light pollution, I would suspect that most of our stuff, you have an ordinance that says we have to keep our light within our boundaries of our site. So that's why we have shielded lights now more than ever, to keep that light coming down. That's what the electrical engineers and a lot of people work with to come up with the best plans. But I think that, for the most part, if there was fencing or something to that effect, that's what these dollars are for. I mean, I think, Marlene, to your, exactly what you're asking, this is, no one wants to spend these dollars unless we have to, but we also want to make sure we address it and be able to say, how do we work together to figure out what the right thing is at the time that it becomes an issue. So I think what everybody's done here, and I apologize for not making the last meeting, but I think what everybody did was very prudent, and it was the right thing to do to be able to help work together to figure out what that might look like. And it gives you a time period to address that as well, because trees don't grow fast. I can appreciate that a lot. But I think it's, if there are those things, that's what this is here for. So I think, in the end, they want to be great neighbors. I've gotten to know all the people in Cold Spring. I'm from a little town in Piers, Minnesota, grew up there, and I live and work in St. Cloud. I've got to put my name on this as well. So I want the best thing for Cold Spring as well. And so I think to approve that in those dollar amounts, there's a lot that we can do with this.
How long is the building, corner to corner?
1,400 feet.
10-foot high, 1,400 feet of fence, how much is that?
You can't have a 14 foot fence, I don't think the county, I know our ordinance doesn't allow it. I don't know what county would do with the right of way. On their side, they might be able to. I don't know what the township rules are.
Just roughly at $10 a foot is $14,000.
But I mean, here's where I'm going with this. $25,000 for this size of project seems like a very minimum amount of money for what we're trying to come together here on. And my fear is that in 4 years when they say, let's put a fence up, and we go, well, there's only 10,000 left, what do we do? You know what I mean? I understand we don't know what's gonna happen, and the volume, I mean, with 10,000 cars on the road today estimated, I get it that there's, there's traffic on the road,
And
so.
I think we have to be realistic of what you're trying to capture. Are you trying to capture true road noise because people are going through on the highway? I mean, that's a noise that you'll never capture unless you put up walls, like the
Yeah,
interstates are. So I think,
yeah.
to me, I think capturing light a lot is probably what they're trying to deal with. And in that case, if we can screen it, that becomes a reasonable number. So I think, again, I think that you can do a lot with that kind of dollars. And I suspect, I'm gonna go on a limb, but if Cold Springs got some other concerns, they certainly would listen to those, but I gotta believe that what you've got here is a good number to start with.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
I 100% agree on the lights, and take care of the lights pretty easy. And again, yeah, the road noise, can you do anything with that? Probably not. But we sure can do something with the backup noise of the trucks backing up to the docks, slamming the docks, forklifts. And I'm just afraid that down the road, $25,000 is not gonna cover us to fix the problem.
I think the other thing might, we deal with other issues, right? We've got OSHA, which is gonna be over jurisdiction over the whole project when it comes down to driver safety and all those other things. I think the thing that we could also think about is maybe the screening isn't directly on this property, but maybe these dollars get used for other, the neighboring property, so maybe it's more trees on Marlene's, or maybe it's more trees on somebody else's as well. So I think it has to be thought about as more of a global picture of what some of these issues might be as well. But I think, the slamming and those types of things are a nature of this business, that, I don't know what I would do to address that. I mean, I gotta believe Cold Spring is a good neighbor, and they wanna do what's right for everybody here too. I don't know how I would necessarily address that piece per se. But again, I think that, doing the things that we can do are in everybody's best interest to make sure that they continue to be that neighbor.
Would you consider doubling it to 50,000?
I guess if that was the issue, again, then I would think about it saying, maybe it's something that gets released earlier, as a scaled piece of it, not holding on to all the dollars through a whole course of it. Because if it's gonna be an issue, it's gonna be an issue
Right away.
right out of the gates.
I would agree.
I think that, if that came down to it, I'm sure, and again, I'm speaking for a lot of people here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, again, the 25,000 to me seems reasonable because you're already building the rest of the project. So the whole project is gonna be built, and some of these things are still gonna be addressed through final site plan and other things yet that we still can work into the project. So I would hope that we're really talking about a fencing issue and a screening issue more than anything, if it becomes an issue at the end.
Is that a maybe, or is that a?
Well,
Yeah.
I think
Well, I
Tom's
mean-
the one who made I think Tom's the one who had made
And
that.
if Tom's on, I would maybe ask if, Tom, are you on?
Tom and Gary, are you still on?
I'm here.
Did you hear that
I'm
discussion?
sorry, was there a question?
So the
Yeah, I
question,
heard the discussion. I certainly understand the concern. And again, we want to be good neighbors and good developers. We put a lot of thought into our design too. So I do feel like our landscaping and general layout was thoughtful. Also, I'm not a huge fan of beefing up screening simply because this is going to be such an impressive facility at the end of the day. This is going to be one of the largest warehouse facilities in the state. So I would be sad if today we blocked it with trees, but I think, we would be very comfortable leaving that escrow fund to
Would you be comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with that.
How about you, Doug or Gary?
I would be, this is Gary.
All right.
Yeah, this Doug, yeah, I'd be comfortable with that. I guess I'd have, well, just one more follow-up question. Are there any homeowners on the line yet? And if you are, would you guys, be interested in having some more trees put in your property to maybe buffer some noise?
Gordon and Marlene and Gordon are here right now.
As far as buffering noise, I really don't see the benefit of trees. I mean, I love trees and I'll take trees, absolutely. But we planted 150 and we still are hearing truck noise. So,
Okay,
We need some pretty substantial trees.
yeah, I mean, our trees were planted 15 years
Yeah.
ago and like I said, the diameter of them is, I went out and measured them. They're anywhere from 8 to 25 inches. I mean, they're pretty big trees and I'm not seeing a lot of difference with the noise.
okay, thank you.
How about fencing, Marlene?
Fencing, I would, yeah,
You know, something like that on your properties would probably help a lot.
Yeah.
As far as lighting, I don't know.
I would be okay with fencing, either on ours or across the road.
And this money can be used
Yes.
on township
Yep.
property as well.
I just
I did
don't,
have.
can I just make one more?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't understand, I mean, they must have been out to the property and seen how close those houses are, especially Patty Zeck's. She's the one that's gonna be the most impacted. Why a berm wasn't put in the original plan, I don't get. I'm sure they're very proud of it, I'm sure they think it's impressive, but in the end, it's a warehouse. So, that's why I'm concerned that, are we gonna get something later when it wasn't thought of in the beginning?
Well, should we just change this or this here
You
to
have a
40,000
motion.
or what?
You have to,
Oh, we have a motion on
you have
this.
a motion, so you'll either have to have it withdrawn or vote on it at the 25,000, or you can amend it to 40.
I'll withdraw.
You're gonna withdraw. Who second?
Gary.
Gary seconded. It doesn't matter. If she withdraw. Okay. Should we go with 40,000 then? I'll read the recommendation with that in it then. To authorize the mayor and city administrator to sign an escrow account agreement with the warehouse developer for a nuisance mitigation with specific terms of 40,000 and 5 years after the certificate of occupancy. Now I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
Shannon makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second.
Jamie seconds it. Any discussion on that?
Once this is built, the point of contact for our residents will be you or John or the developer or,
They should contact the city.
okay,
Yes.
We'll be holding the money. in
okay.
escrow.
And just so you guys are aware, it's the city that will work with you to do whatever we have to do. Okay, so,
The other thing, like Mr. Erkin said, the brewery does work with the neighborhoods real well, so I'm just putting that out. I know they have up there, so they will help you as much as they can. All right, with that, I need a vote. Shannon,
Yes.
Jamie,
yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion carries. Okay, we'll go on to number 8.
Thank you, Tom. It's Tom, right?
Yeah.
It's Tom, okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Number 8, Resolution 2020-20, a resolution approving a variance from the Section 17 Subdivision 12 Off-Street Parking and Loading Inventure Properties LLC, CJK Investments LLC, and Spring Hill Capital LLC, Scannell Properties. Anything on that? Otherwise, I'm just gonna read a recommendation then. Recommendation to approve Resolution 2020, a resolution approving a variance from Section 1712 off-street parking and loading requirements for a warehouse. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jamie makes a motion, how about a second?
I'll second.
Gary seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Hi,
Oh, sorry, roll call.
Shannon says aye.
Shannon says aye. Jamie?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes. Okay, 9, request for approval for the constructions of 39-foot high building in the I-2 General Industrial District. What do we got?
Okay, for the recommendation.
Yeah, it looks like it.
So it would be a recommendation.
Recommendation for approval for the, okay, I'll read a recommendation. For the approval for the construction of a 39-foot high building in the I-2 General Industrial District. I need a motion on that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll make a motion.
Doug makes a motion. Gary, you want to second it?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on it? Did the fire chief approve this?
Yes.
Okay.
And the planning
And
commission.
the planning commission, okay. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion passes. We'll go on to number 10, Public Works Director Report. John Stevie.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. The first thing I have on my list is the promenade, paving the fishing pier and the promenade. It was a very unique situation. Not a lot of concrete guys would do it because of the river next to it and the 10-foot high on the other side. So after talking to about 4 different concrete outfits, DRSC Concrete was the low bid at $21,500 to put concrete on the top of that existing concrete that's there, that's all busted up. Bridget was gonna,
I have the drawing here.
some people kind of wanted to see an idea of what we had in mind.
I gotta see if I thought I sent it.
I busted out my 1998 art class features here.
I was impressed.
I was
I
like,
was impressed.
I like the fact that you
Oh, I
said
do have it
not
here.
to scale.
That's, Mr. Lynch taught me that.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I can't find it. Oh, I know where it is. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second.
One thing with the fence in the picture, once you see it, I did put the crossbars for the fence running parallel to the concrete. That could change. It could be something to do with code too. I got to talk to David Varsity, but it might end up being like a
You guys for coming.
spindle fencing, like a
Thanks,
staircase
Gordon.
railing or something instead. I don't think cost-wise it adds anything different.
Will it be in the black metal like we have?
No, this particular, okay, so there's a couple different options. This particular setup we talked about doing to save money was to do like a composite decking. So like a maintenance-free, we don't want to be out there painting it every other year. We don't want, you know, pieces falling off. So we talked about a maintenance decking, which is quite a bit cheaper. Tom Kramer called me this morning. He really would like, as well as the splash pad committee, to see it as a matching fence to the splash park. The difference there is that's $100 a foot, and we've got about 160 total feet, so about $16,000 in fencing. So probably about double the cost from composite. So that, when we get to that point, which will be, the next council meeting probably, we'll have to discuss on what we wanna do there.
Look at the.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So,
So Rosa, on the phone, you should be able to see the sharing now?
Yes.
Okay.
so our goal here is with the fence to, to keep it a little shorter so people can fish over it, but yet to make it decorative to clean up that area. Once it's all done, we'll probably do something like paint the side of the concrete, the existing that's there, paint it like a tan or a gray or something, cover up some of the graffiti that's on it, things like that. We can only do so much with trees around there as per the DNR. They really don't have any regulation as far as on top of the fishing pier, but the shoreline they do, so. This is kind of the idea, but first things first, we gotta get the concrete poured and get it leveled out. It'll be handicap accessible. There'll be a trail in the middle of it, that'll connect to the promenade that'll be completely flat, so, wheelchairs and stuff can access it.
Will it be low enough, the fencing low enough for
That's
wheelchair?
that's the goal. We wanna keep it about the same height as like a deck.
Okay,
So that people can sit and enjoy and fish and get people off of Main Street from fishing off the side there and give them some more comfortable spots and safer spots to fish from. So it'll be nice to have a couple
Get 'em
options
off-
with
get 'em
the,
off the dam. They
Yeah.
stand on the dam and fish that same spot.
yeah. And it might be something too where you're not gonna stop all of it, but
No.
at least we can encourage people to fish in a different spot, but.
Who has regulation around how the size of that fence, the gap between everything? and-
That's gonna be David Barcy with the building code.
It is? Okay.
That's why I'm thinking it might end up being, I like the fence that I drew, but at the same time, I think it might end up being something like a staircase with spindles.
Okay.
Just so people can't fall through or kids can't,
Okay,
slip
And the
through.
height will be decided by David.
okay. So it's not DNR or anything like
No.
this? It's built.
No,
okay.
they only when I talked to the DNR last year, they only regulate the shoreline. They don't
Okay.
do nothing with building codes, so. But yeah, we'll remove the chain link fence, we'll get the concrete poured, and then we'll probably put up some caution tape and barricades and stuff while we're getting the plan together and the material together for the fence, and we'll do that ourselves. Unless we go with stuff like the splash pad, then that'll have to be ordered through the splash pad, ordered through the person that the splash pad is using, I should say. So,
I mean, cost comparison,
cost comparison, I figured is about double.
for sure.
Yeah. Cause Tom said they're paying $100 a foot, $16,000, and I'm hoping this is gonna be about $8,000.
This will probably have more spindles too.
Yeah. Well,
Well, it's
I don't know exactly what Tom's looks like. I haven't seen a drawing of the splash pad fencing
Right.
yet. I know it's not the same as Main Street and Red River just because cost wise. I want to say the stuff they got is half or a third the price of Main Street Red River. So I don't know if Bridget, you have a copy of the fencing at all for the splash pad, but
You know,
I'm assuming it doesn't have spindles in it. It's probably more like decorative fencing like
Like Main Street.
Main
kind of.
Street and Red River.
Okay.
Because it is being fabricated at a welding shop, so I know it's made out of steel and it's powder coated black.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
John, if we went with the fencing that's at the splash pad, is there enough money budgeted to cover that? Or is it
No,
covering what your drawing stuff take care of?
more so covering what I had kind of drawn up. Bridget and I looked at that today, and we'd fall well over half short of Tom Kramer's idea of the splash pad. So we would have to find an option for different money if that's the case.
I mean, even if we did the fencing like John's got now and maybe 5 years down the road, we could, or whatever, we could always change it if we wanted to. But
And if that was something that was thought of too, I would recommend then not doing maintenance-free fencing and just do essentially like a green treat decking, because that's gonna be super cheap, and if it's only for short term, that's the route I would take then.
it's something to think about.
Yeah,
What
you-
did we budget for this project?
25,000 total.
Okay. And the concrete alone is 21? Okay.
the original budget didn't have this much in for concrete because of, I mean, you start calculating the actual yardages of concrete you're pouring, and it's like, well, this is what it should be. But then when you get concrete guys showing up and they say, I'm not touching it, or they throw you a huge number because it is,
Because they don't want to touch it.
yeah, because they don't want to touch it, and it's dangerous. They're going to have to go out there with essentially ladders or cranes to form it up on the east side towards the river. And this was, it's complicated. I guess I didn't take that into consideration when I threw the budget number together, but.
But we'll do that.
Say,
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
hey, John, I got two comments. One, it appears that the majority of the fish like it, at least they're looking at it. And, number two, I didn't realize that you were so good at this. Do you think that we could hire you to draw up that new fire department police station?
Anything's negotiable, Gary.
Oh, you did a very nice job.
Thank you.
I will tell you that it did not copy as well as it looks in person. The color was a little
That
fake.
looks good.
So would this qualify to utilize any parkland dedication money for?
Yeah, that budget is negative, but that 45,000 is gonna get it less than negative. But yes,
But it'll still be in the negative.
correct. But
What
yes.
about any DNR grant money?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Wait,
There
wait.
is nothing there, or it's,
They say there is, but you'll never get it.
oh, okay. Like even for fishing piers on the other side?
We
of the
tried.
dam?
We tried on this fishing pier. Tom Kramer tried on that fishing pier, and he said it. We both kind of talked about it. It's just.
They're doing things like the pier we have at Lions Park, that's what they're focusing on.
So when are you hoping to pour?
I'm hoping to pour in the next couple weeks.
So between now and,
Next meeting, I'd like for my report next meeting to have the fencing on there.
so could you and Chris work on a possible financing option, what we might have a give and take to come up with? I like the idea of the metal fence that matches the park. I mean, to me, that makes sense.
It'll look nice, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the promenade does kind of tie the two together.
right. And
Between John, Chris and I, we could come up with bid numbers, budget shortfall and where that could possibly come from.
Yeah. Well, this might be off topic, but aren't we 1 year behind on Jason's, the police department's vehicles? We budgeted for one, but we never got it, or are we getting two this year?
We're getting another one.
We're getting another one.
The end-
Okay, so-
toward the
The
end
one
of the
we
year.
just got is last year's,
Okay,
and we're getting this year's this year.
oh, okay, all right.
Correct, Jason?
Yeah, that's correct. The one we just got was ordered a year and a half ago. The one that we ordered at the beginning of this year was supposed to go into production in the middle of April here, which is now postponed until later in the year. So once we get that one, we'll be back up to speed, hopefully by the end of this year, as long as production.
Okay, okay, all right.
Why, were you looking at gambling money out of that? Or what?
No, if we're a year behind in a car,
Oh.
we have 30-some thousand, we budget every year for a new vehicle.
I
We
see.
didn't- But
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where the cycle of that was coming into play. but-
And
I'll
I
let-
The
I'll
gambling
let-
intake
I
has
don't know.
been,
Huh?
the gambling intake has been zero since March.
Oh, yeah, I know that. I know that.
Well, I'll let you three can
Yeah,
We can come up with a.
come up with something.
Yeah, if we can come up with the money, we'll give you two different options at the next council meeting.
yeah. But you want this here one
Yep,
read first,
DRSC
huh?
needs to be approved so we can get them rolling.
Okay. Recommendation to approve the bid of DRSC Concrete Company Incorporated of $21,500 for the concrete on the Promenade Fishing Pier, and furthermore to be paid out of the Parks Department budget line item capital expenditures 6413. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to
Gary
approve.
will make a motion.
Gary makes a motion.
I'll second.
Jamie seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon,
Yes?
Jamie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So the motion passes.
And so anytime you have a recommendation or you need approval for anything, you are now to draw a picture of what you need an approval of. So I don't care if it's a pump or a tractor or like anything, you have to draw a picture,
All right,
okay?
yeah. That'll get interesting. The only other thing I had was late last week I had to make kind of a emergency decision on buying a new pump for well 5. Zach Tyne figured the bill was going to be about $4,000 to $5,000. What happened was the brewery, building their line 5. We're doing wells 8 and 9 for them to get their water from there. They are already are testing line 5 now. They're hoping not to get into super production until wells 8 and 9 are done, but if they need to, they can now because we put a larger pump in well 5. The pump we put it, so when we did the project a year and a half ago, we took out city well 5 pump, put a new pump in, and because they couldn't handle all that head pressure that it used to pump against the water tower. The new pump didn't give them enough gallons per minute now with line 5, so we put a 30 horsepower pump in. It's brand new now, and it creates enough head pressure to, once wells 8 and 9 are online, we don't have to put the old well 5 pump back in. This new pump will suffix the city's needs and pump to the water tower. So we spent like an extra $2,000, but we got a brand new pump out of the deal, so it was well worth it. The motor they had on the old new pump was a 30 horsepower motor, so we were able to just buy a pump and not a motor. So we did that on Friday, and we've been working with the brewery now over the weekend and Monday and today, and it's working great for them. They're getting 500 gallons per minute, which is what that well does now. So everything's going well there. I just wanted to let you know that there will be a bill from Tyne for between $4,000 and $5,000 for that.
All right.
Can I say one thing quick?
Go ahead.
Larry Hush, I know you're on here, and we said at the beginning, Pilgrims had to withdraw their presentation, and they're coming back on May 12th. I just wanted to let you know I said that, but I don't know if Leslie heard me at the very beginning. Here, I said it again.
Okay, so any questions for me? Otherwise, that's all I have.
Anybody got anything? Otherwise, we'll move on to number 11, City Engineer Report, Brian Lynchen.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we'll start off with County Road 158. As you're all well aware, work is happening out there. We're starting utilities on the east end of the project, basically starting east, moving west. And so they're going to kind of break it up into sections so that they can work on probably about thirds of the project at once, get the utilities done, and start working on the road, then start working on building the road, building the curb and gutter, etc. So right now we're focused on the east end of the project. Any questions on County Road 158?
Quick question, are you on schedule?
I would say that we're ahead of schedule because we started early.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no other questions on that, move on to the water treatment plant. We're still meeting every 2 weeks with staff. We have a meeting tomorrow between city staff and Stantec to talk about the plant, the design, and we're progressing nicely, I think, on getting that together. Any questions on the water plant?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to wells 8 and 9 and the projects associated with that. So on the well drilling, the first well has been drilled. I think they're going to be starting on the second one here shortly if they already haven't. And then we're looking at test pumping taking place next week. So we'll have then a good idea of what the wells will actually output. The development, so they developed the first well, which is basically trying to get all the sand and fine material out. So that went well. I think they figured they can get a decent yield out of it. So the test pumping will tell next week. So with and we'll cover this with the water main project too. So the water main project has started. We got some clear grub. We have, they started fusing some pipe today for the directional drilling, that's gonna take place under the wetland on the Fraley property. So that one's moving along, and then they expect actual pipe work to get started next week. So we'll get started on putting the pipe in the ground, and by the end of May, everything should be in.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, and that one's moving nicely, and then so the last part of that, the pumps, controls, the overhead power service, and the roadway, that's, the design just got started. One of the big things there is we need to know what the well's output before we can really start designing the pumps and the things that go with them. So once we have that information, next week we'll be able to get moving, a lot faster on that. And I think we originally anticipated a, kind of June, July timeframe for bidding on that project. So with, wells 8 and 9, we also have, I think it's on the agenda, we have 2 change orders. Basically, they add the prevailing wage requirements to the contract, in order to comply with the funding requirements from DEED. We were given the, DEED grant of $951,000. With that, one of the requirements is to include prevailing wage. On the first 2 projects, I forgot to include that in the bidding, so this is making sure that we comply with all the requirements of DEED, in order to get that grant money. And it would be important to note as well that these costs, the additional costs that are in the change orders for the drilling and the water main, those would have been there regardless. Basically, they're a stipulation of getting that money. You have to follow those prevailing wage laws in order to get the state money. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on that.
Anybody got anything?
No, I read through it, makes sense.
No.
Brian, would they still have been the lowest bid? Did you say that or not?
Yes, we did. We talked with the city attorney and looked at both these projects, and even with the addition of the prevailing wage, or the dollars to reach prevailing wage, under both contracts, they would have still been the low bid.
Okay.
So that was an important distinction that we made sure to clear with Sue before we proceeded with the change order. So that's a good question. Thank you.
Okay. I'll read the recommendation then. To approve change order number 2. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jamie makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second that.
Shannon seconds it. Is there any discussion? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So that motion carries. And then the other recommendation to approve change order number 1. We discussed that already, right, Brian?
Yeah, they're essentially just, one is for the well drilling contract, the other is for the water main contract.
Okay.
They both they're essentially the same change order, other than the contracting entity that we're working with and the dollar amount
Okay.
to reach the prevailing wage.
All right. I need a motion on that one.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jamie makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second.
Gary, I'll second.
Well, 3 of us.
Gary seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, we will vote. Shannon,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. Okay, you got those two.
And then, the last thing we had was the, sewer and water system improvements, and the lift station related to the brewery as well, so the design work on that is getting underway. We just called in a massive utility locate, to try and pick up all of the utilities so we can better, determine where along County Road 2 we're gonna put those pipes. So that's kind of the stage we're at right now, is determining where the things are gonna go in the ground. Then we'll be working with, Bridget to get agreements and more discussions with landowners. That one's getting underway. Originally, the plan for that is to construct first thing next year.
All right. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, anybody got questions for Brian? Otherwise, otherwise we'll go on to number 12, Police Department report. Chief Bloom.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Just one thing from me to talk about was looking at, with everything going on, pandemic going on, looking at options to try and bolster our roster a little bit. Right now, a lot of agencies are putting hiring processes on hold, but one of the options I wanted to look at was possibly bringing back some of the part-timers that we previously had on our roster that have moved on to full-time at a different agency. Right now, we have 3 part-timers on our roster. In the past, we've had up to 5 and possibly 6 total. There'd be minimal cost for us as an agency as long as their license is being carried by their agency they're employed full-time by. So, and if they've been worked for us in the past, they already know our equipment, they know how we work, and it'd be an easy way to plug somebody in to help us if we would in turn need that at some point. So before I started putting effort into it, I just wanted to see, or just have that discussion to make sure, or see if it's something that you guys would be okay with. I don't think I need a motion tonight just to at least start the work, but as long as everybody agrees with it or has questions on it, I can try and answer those.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, how many people do you think you'd want to have as, I mean, I think you should have like 5 backups or, you know, or something. I mean, what's your favorite number?
I know of one past employee that's kind of brought it up that they'd be interested, so I know there's at least one out there for sure, and then it would just be a matter of, you know, if one would be good, you know, if there's extra that we could do, I'll just kind of have to take it in stride and see who's willing to come back and put in the effort.
Yeah.
But I like, we've had up to 5 or 6 in the past. I wouldn't want to go over that, but at least start with that one and maybe work from there.
I mean, even if it's just knowing you have someone in your back, you know, if you have 5 people in your back pocket, if you need, because you have 3 people out with COVID or whatever the case may be.
No, and with watching the numbers increase over the last week, it's just something that's been there that at least have to prepare for.
Yeah.
Doug, did you have something?
No, I was gonna ask that same question, what is the number you thought you needed to get at?
Yep. And like I said, if we started with adding that 1 to get to 4, and then at least have that pool of people that, if they would be willing to, at least have the process done, so it'd be an easy way to plug somebody in if we needed to. So,
Gary?
as long as everybody's okay with it, I'll kind of move forward and hopefully bring somebody back by the next council meeting for approval.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Gary?
Yes, fine.
Okay,
Alright,
then
thank
go
you.
ahead with
Other
it.
than that, just trying to keep everybody healthy and moving forward, so that's all I really have for you guys tonight.
All right, thanks,
Sounds good.
Jason.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jason.
Okay, then we'll go on to number 13, City Administrator Report.
Well, I have nothing because they had asked to move that site plan discussion about that agreement to the plat and all of their items so that they could get out of here quicker and be more healthy, so I have nothing on the
Okay.
agenda now.
Well, then we will move on to.
What?
I know.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh, I'll get more, I'm sure.
Wait till the next meeting. Okay, then we'll go on to number 14, List of Bills and Additions. Recommendation to review and accept payment of the accounts payable according to the list and supplemental list presented by city staff. I need a motion on that.
I'll make
I'll make the motion.
Doug makes a motion.
I'll second.
Jamie seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, we'll vote. Shannon,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
And Dave is a yes. Number 15, general questions and comments from city council. Doug,
None.
Gary,
None.
Jamie,
None for me, sir.
Shannon,
None this evening.
and I have none. Number 16, next scheduled city council, we got a special meeting this Thursday on April 30th at 6 PM. And the next regular one is on May 12th. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Jamie makes a motion. I need a second.
I'll second that.
Shannon seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, Shannon,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you guys very much.